So you've probably heard that the corners of the embouchure are really important, but why is that and how do we actually develop those muscles? So this video was actually requested quite a while ago, and I'm really excited to finally be getting to making this video. I think it's going to be really important and really helpful for a lot of people. So thank you so much for requesting it, and don't forget that you can request more videos in the comments below. So if there's anything that you want to know about the clarinet or playing music, just leave a comment with that, and I will very likely make a video of it, even if it's a few weeks later. So the corners of the embouchure, first of all, what I'm talking about with that is just sort of like the corners of your mouth and really the sides area of the embouchure, not the bottom lip, not the top lip, not the top teeth, but all the other sort of side areas that go around the mouthpiece. It has two really important functions. The first very obvious one is just that it has to seal around the mouthpiece so that there isn't air leaking out of your corners. I'm sure you've had this before when you're playing, and I'm sure you've heard other people do it where they leak a little bit out of the corners, which is sometimes a little bit inevitable when you're using really high pressure air, but that's why we really want to strengthen these corners and keep them strong. The other even more important part of the corners coming in and being supportive is that it actually helps with the reed vibrations, and by squeezing in this way, it forces you to open up your mouth and get that pressure off the reed so that the reed can really vibrate properly and you're not putting too much pressure and pinching off the vibrations of the reed, which is what creates all of our sound. I actually have a little bit of an exercise that I want you to try, and you can do this without the clarinet right now, to sort of feel what it means when the corners come in and how that can affect the pressures on the reed. So this is a really simple exercise. I'm going to explain it and then I'll demonstrate it. So we just put your finger in your mouth as if it's the mouthpiece with your top teeth on the fingernail, and just sort of close your mouth in a really natural way. And when you do that, you'll probably realize that you're probably biting down a little bit. Our jaw is very used to biting and chewing because that's pretty much its main function. So you're gonna sort of feel a lot of pressure on like this part of your finger and feel a lot of squeezing this way because that's what our jaw does. Now from there, if we sort of flatten out our chin, you'll notice right away that you start to get a little bit of pressure off of here, and it starts to become a little bit more focused rather than like a whole bunch of lip sort of smashing against your finger. It starts to flatten this out, starts to thin out this lip and get a little bit more precision to that pressure. But your jaw's still likely quite closed and there's still a good amount of pressure this way. It may be a little bit more focused pressure rather than a bunch of rounded out pressure, but there's still a good amount of pressure on the reed side of your finger. From there though, if we put our finger in, point our chin, and then we think about bringing the corners in, so that's when you start to feel that the pressure starts to get off of the reed and you start to get more even pressure all the way around the mouthpiece. So try that exercise. Finger in, just really normal, relaxed. Point your chin, and then really squeeze in the corners. And notice how that creates much more even pressure around. You may not, especially on your finger, because your finger's so narrow, you may not actually feel the corners squeezing in on the sides, but you'll definitely notice that when you think about squeezing those corners in, it opens up the pressure this way and really gets that pressure off of the reed. And the final step of this actually, which you can learn more about in my video about thinking up with the instrument, is to really think about anchoring into the top lip. And instead of being like 50-50 pressure all the way around, getting it maybe closer to like 60 or 70% of the pressure going up into the top lip and into the top teeth to get even more pressure off of that reed and free up those good vibrations of the reed that your wonderful air will be supporting. So the purpose of that exercise is just to notice and feel on your finger and get that response of how pulling in your corners actually gets the pressure off of the reed and why it's so important to think about these corners coming in and think about the clarinet coming up. But I also want to give you some exercises on how to actually strengthen these muscles because again, we don't use these muscles too much. These chewing muscles are much stronger than our squeezing in the corners muscles. So I want to give you some exercises to sort of strengthen those and help with that. So the first easiest one is honestly just to play long tones. When you play a long tone and really pay close attention to getting your very best sound and not leaking at all from the corners, then you're going to be forced to bring in these corners and really get those resonant vibrations of the reed that you're looking for. So if you play lots of long tones and play them with really, really high quality and really properly, then you'll be strengthening these corners right away. And that'll be the most accurate way to strengthen them. The other exercises that I'm gonna give you are going to use these muscles, but maybe not quite exactly in the same way as playing. Playing is the most reliable way to strengthen them because that's doing it in a way that's exactly how you're gonna need it when you want them to be strong. So the only exercise I've ever actually personally learned for doing this that I've seen online in another video was to say Q and then T and sort of go between Q, T really slowly, which is good because it gets this sort of motion. I think an even better way than that is to say E, U. I think it's a little bit more fun to say E, U rather than Q, T, just because it sounds like a siren or something. Ew. It's kind of fun. It also is really good for the tongue position and voicing because we have that E tongue position, and then we can think about also maintaining that E tongue position as we go into the U and get that sort of like German O umlaut U rather than just a O or a more English sort of low tongue position O, which gets our corners in, but isn't quite the right tongue position for playing the clarinet. But this isn't about tongue position, this is about the embouchure corner, so that's what really matters. So try this exercise, be really, really dramatic about it, really say like E, and then go to U, and try to keep the tongue position high, but most importantly, really squeeze these corners in. E, U, E, U, E, U. The more corner motion that you can get on this and the more you can squeeze it together when you're going ooh and the more you can stretch it back when you do E, the better. This is a great exercise because you look extremely ridiculous and you can do it anywhere without a clarinet. So annoy your families, annoy anybody you see, maybe walking down the street. Hopefully you're wearing a mask right now if you're walking down the street, so you can do it anywhere and nobody will even know you're a weirdo because your face will be covered up. Another exercise that you can do to work out these corners is just what I call like a straw sucking exercise, where when you suck on a straw, it sort of engages these muscles. A great way to do this is to get a really thick milkshake and just try to drink it. That's the most fun way to do it. You can also do this without a milkshake, which is less fun, but just stick your finger in your mouth, just like we sort of were doing on that first exercise. Kind of make an embouchure. It's not so important on this to like really make a good embouchure, but again, you'll get more benefit out of it if you do make a good embouchure. So sort of make your embouchure with your finger in your mouth and then just suck on it like you're trying to use it as a straw. And as you're doing that sucking, remember that we're really looking for these corners and that corner engagement, so really focus on that and really try to squeeze those corners in. And then the final thing that I have for strengthening these corners is actually a tool. It's called the Wind O. It's Wind-O. And this is a tool that actually is designed specifically for strengthening these corners. It also helps with your airstream as well. I don't actually have one or have ever used one, but I've seen other people use them. I've heard a lot about them, and I think they're a pretty good product if you're really interested in strengthening these corners. What it is it's basically a little piece of plastic, and on the two sides of it there's basically like spring-loaded buttons, and what they do is they actually, on the inside there's a mechanism where when the buttons aren't pushed you can't blow through it, but when you push on the buttons it lines the stuff up on the inside and creates a little passage for air to go through. So what you do with the window is you stick it in your mouth and use just the corners of your mouth to squeeze it in and push those buttons together, so then you can blow through it. So it's actually a breathing exercise as well, and working on getting that air support, and most importantly getting this corner action really squeezed in with the good blowing, and that getting that good combination that allows for a really good resonant full clarinet sound. So I hope that was helpful for you to start getting the corners of your embouchure pulled in and really supporting the vibrations of the reed. If you or anybody has any questions on clarinet stuff or music stuff, leave a comment with that, and then subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I make the video answering your questions. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in another video.